Hello, it's Wendi and Crosbie Lorimer here from Valcaddy Media, and it's day 5 of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race. And finally, the dock behind us is actually filling up with yachts. As you know, yesterday we came to you and there was only 6 yachts in. It was really unusual for the race. But a lot came in overnight, a lot of the fleet came in, which is exciting. So the main news of today is it has been announced and the presentation has just happened that Alive has taken IRC Overall. They are the winners of the race this year, which is really, really exciting. So congratulations to Alive.
For a second time.
For a second time, yes. And I do need to make a correction from yesterday. I made a slight mishap. Alive beat URM. Oh, I got it right. URM. I didn't call it URL for once. URM. They actually beat them by 21 minutes, not 20 on handicap. Yes, not 21 seconds, as I said yesterday. So apologies for that mishap yesterday. So Crosbie, what's it like out at sea at the moment? We saw this morning it's looking pretty unpleasant out there for the rest of the fleet. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
We saw some live coverage this morning out there and it is rough. Like pretty much all the yachts they were shooting from the chopper have got storm jibs and trysails on. There's pretty big seas. It's always really hard yards this last bit of the coast, and yes, it's going to be super hard yards for those guys. Small wonder they're going to look pretty exhausted by the time they get in, I think. And probably more than half the fleet are there, still out at sea. So yeah, pretty tough going, I'm afraid. But anyway, we're getting near the end now.
Yeah, it's a slower race this year for sure.
Yeah.
So can we talk about some of the division leaders so far?
Yeah. So, look, if you want to see exactly who's leading and where your favourite boat is in the standings, you can go to the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race site, and then you just hit the name standings, and then you'll see all the divisions at the top there. But just very briefly, some of the sort of highlights from that and notable ones for us. Obviously, Alive, IRC Overall, and Division 0. Really great to see Seb Bowman's Smuggler doing really well. That's so good. Simone, who we'll talk to later, will love that too. And they've worked really hard this year. They've done some great stuff, and they were up there with Caro, and it's such a difficult race that didn't suit those sorts of guys. That's a really epic performance. Margaret Rintoul 5, what a beautiful yacht. She came in late last night, so she led Division 2 in IRC. Patriot in Division 3 with Atomic Blonde just behind. Mistral, Rupert Henry got in this morning. That really went well for those guys. Again, a really difficult race for them. And really nice to see Zhang Lin and Aymeric Belloir on Min River in Division 5 under IRC. That's great stuff. In PHS, the beautiful Drumfire, Oroton Drumfire under PHS Overall. In the IRC Corinthian, Richard Hudson's Pretty Woman, fantastic. He does a brilliant job bringing all these youngsters down and mentoring through the program. And again in Corinthian as well as on IRC. In the two-handers then overall, Mistral on IRC, and I think she's got a top 10 finish overall in IRC, which is fantastic. And then I'm a Lizard, really nice to see that in PHS. Anyway, if you want more results, go on the website and we'll go from there.
So, we've got a bit of a special addition to today's live update. We're joined by 2 guests who are joining us. We've got Rachael, Crompton and Simone Hill. Come on in, come join us.
Part ways, come and join us.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, Crosbie.
Hello.
Hi.
So, thank you so much for joining us today, making our live update slightly more interesting and eventful. So, Cros, do you want to tell us a little bit about why you invited Rachael and Simone on today and how you 3 know each other?
Yeah, right. So there were 2 reasons, really. One, I think, was to reflect just briefly and in no detail on 25 years since the 98 Hobart. All 3 of us were in that race. Rachael and I on the same boat and Simone on a different boat. And just really perhaps reflecting very briefly on that one. And the second piece really is talking about how you take opportunities, because these 2 are role models in that regard. Sure, for women, but more generally about how you take an opportunity for a young person, how you do it. Very different backgrounds. What is it that you do that gets you those opportunities that we've had the really good fortune to have? So I thought I might just ask both of you a little bit about what you most remembered about the 98. It was pretty wild for us, Rach. That first night, fast downhill running. Yeah. We were putting the boat all over the place. And in the end we had a fair few dramas, and you were up the mast for a long time there trying to unwind
we couldn't get a spinnaker down. I asked to bring it down about half an hour before we probably should have done, and then when it came to take it down, it was we were completely out of control. And I think someone mentioned get a flare gun to shoot through it, yeah. But we ended up with a huge wrap, and it was just disastrous. So yeah, I had to go up the rig. I really didn't want to. I felt quite frightened, I have to say. And cutting that down, I was exhausted. I think I used every bit of life force in my body and I don't know how I held on and cut through it, but I did.
I reckon you've still got those bruises to show
know,
around
that
you.
was black and blue,
So banged
absolutely
up,
black
it wasn't
and-
funny, but
I
that was
know.
epic. And I think for me, if I can reflect on that, that's why it's bow caddy media. I was Rachel's bow caddy.
That's
She'd get up
right.
the front there and she'd say, "Number 2, please, Crosbie," and it
Yeah.
was my job to bring the number
That's
2 up.
right.
But it was just an extraordinary. It was a great boat, but you and I particularly had a really sort of strong bond at the front end there that
Absolutely.
went through to far 40s and
Yeah,
other
we
things as
did,
well.
we
And
did.
it was so sort of special.
Very
Simone, for
special.
you, that wasn't the greatest
No,
finish, was it?
very-
You didn't
very
get there in
different
the end, did you?
experience,
We
yeah.
got here, but you didn't.
I
Tell
was
us about
fortunate to be on a 65-foot boat, the old Brindabella, which
Infinity,
became
yeah,
Infinity,
yeah.
and we were sponsored by Team Jaguar at the time. And unfortunately, we did lose our rig in that intense low, which we then had to hacksaw, cut over the side. We then had issues with ropes fouling our props, and we were unable to return to shore without assistance. So we did set off an EPIRB, and we were rescued by a fishing boat from Malakuta, the Moira Jean. I still remember.
Wow.
I still remember, and it was very intense trying to get a tow line, and huge seas. I've never sailed again in such intense conditions, so it didn't
I
put
can
me
feel
off.
my heart racing just thinking about it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
It was like, I mean, the weird thing for us is we were very lucky. We didn't have the biggest of the really dangerous seas, but all I can remember is like sailing on a snowfield. It was white. Everything was white. It was extraordinary.
It was, and there was breaking waves that we could actually see to avoid, but I knew when it came night time we might not, and it felt like freight trains coming towards you,
Yeah.
and forks in your face, the
Yeah.
spray, and it was unbelievable.
Extraordinary. And then we all went off sort of after that. You and I did far 40s.
Yeah, we
Simone,
did.
you were still doing and still are doing a lot of sailing.
Yeah,
We'll come to
very
that in a
fortunate.
moment. What I wanted to talk to you two about was how you both took opportunities, made the most of opportunities. So, Rach, you came from a really pretty humble background in the north of England.
Yeah, well,
no yotting background at all. Tell us
zero.
about what
I
got
didn't
you
even,
to this.
I didn't know what a yacht was, to be honest, but I just knew I had a yearning to go on the sea. Every time we went on holiday as kids, I was always like, "Dad, can we go out on a boat?" But we didn't have the opportunity, and I found out my mum's cousin had a fishing trawler in the North Sea. So I said, "Mum, let's go up and see Uncle Cousin Tom," and then that was it. Then every summer holiday, I was out on this fishing trawler. Then I got an opportunity to go on a tall ship.
Yeah, you and I both did this Winston Churchill.
Churchill, shout out to the Sail Training Association. And then someone told me these yachts, and people, like, you just go to like the yacht club and they have crew wanted, and you have to ask people, and they actually take you out on their yacht. And I was like, wow, that's a... So I just did that, and I got better opportunities. And I think the main thing is to have a little bit of courage to approach people, because it is a bit frightening, especially when it wasn't my environment. I didn't grow up in Sydney or anything like that, but also be ready and embrace it. And I mean, I didn't feel like I was working hard, but I guess I did, because I was so fascinated. I'm so interested in everything, and I wanted to know how everything worked, and I was learning and just soaking everything in so much from all the people, and some people give you more help, and it was fantastic. Yeah.
So the first thing really on opportunity, and Simone, you might talk to this as well, is really just being brave and pushing. Tell us a bit about your journey on that.
Absolutely, yeah. I was fortunate to grow up in a sailing family, so unlike Rach, I was very lucky to grow up in Sydney, and both my parents sailed, and uncles and family. So I was fortunate to start doing some offshore racing maybe 17, 18 after having learned as a child, so Coffs Harbours, Southports, Mooloolah Bars, and then the opportunity arose through Mandy Wilmot when she did put together the Cape Fear team.
So let's come to this, because
Yeah.
there's always the Cape Fear years. So this is an all-women's team that did the Hobart in 95.
Yeah.
You were, the youngsters coming through are standing on some strong shoulders, and you were a really extraordinary crew. Tell us a little bit about how that ever happened.
Well, I think you were on the boat first. I only got on at the last minute, and,
Yeah.
because I didn't have a ride to Hobart, and someone I sailed with said, "I think these people are looking for crew. Give this person a call." I didn't even. It was Mandy Wilmot. Never heard of her. Didn't know anybody. And I just rang up, and it was actually a really inconvenient day, because it was my brother's 40th birthday on the 20th of December when we had to go sail training, and it was like, he had to sacrifice his birthday at that moment because we were sailing, and so family do sacrifice things. But yeah.
So tell us, how many of you were there, and how did the race go?
Yeah, so Mandy put the team together with Gay Bristow, who was the owner's wife. The whole Bristow family was very involved, and I had raced with them for a couple of seasons before that. And then she had a number of other people on board. Jude Micklewright was the alternate skipper.
Yeah, Judy's here in race
Judy
control.
lives, she's
Shout
working
out to
today.
race control.
Yeah, she lives in Hobart. Caroline Patterson, we had Val, we had Angie Crafer,
Sue Crafer,
younger sister of well-known sailor Sue, who now lives in Auckland. We had a great crew all put together. So all women, I think there were 9
gelled,
of us.
it just really gelled.
On a 35
On a 35-footer as well.
yacht.
Yeah.
So incredibly small boat for my first Hobart,
Yeah.
which we obviously achieved and got here. And I'm still sailing on the Cape
Yeah.
Fear. It's now at Pittwater, owned by another female, and the boat still lives, and it's still, great
So,
design.
lessons from all of that, of course, doesn't matter where you come from, you've still got to kind of push yourself. I was hopeless. I mean, I was always anxious about whether I was up to it a lot of the time. I was never a great sailor. But the other thing was working hard, wasn't it? Once you got that opportunity, really work hard. Isn't that right?
Being part of a team,
Yeah,
learning to
yeah.
be part of a team, learning
Yeah.
to get on with people, learning
Yeah.
to take direction and allow people to mentor you and teach you.
Yeah.
There's always something
being
to do.
keen.
Always something to do on a boat.
Yeah.
So you just got to
Yeah.
keep your eyes open
Absolutely.
and watch what other more experienced people are doing,
Yeah.
learn from them, and just don't stand around watching people.
Yeah.
Dig in and help out. If someone
And at the end, just clearing up. Actually, the funniest thing for me was I was about the only person on that, one of the Hobarts, that was actually able to do any cooking. I remember sending up a cheese and tomato
Very
sandwich,
valuable.
and as it went up through the hatch, this wave caught it, and it got soaked. And Richard Blake took it, and he took a bite and said, "Crosbie, that is heaven." That's how desperate you are.
That's right.
And something
Yes.
you guys were talking about earlier is the long-lasting friendships that happen from that. So do you want to talk us about
Yeah,
that,
Yeah,
particularly
absolutely. So the Cape Fear
95 race?
group, we're obviously a chat group, and we live in 3 different countries, 4 different states of Australia, and we do try and get together every year because we really value each other's friendships. And these girls,
One year we realised it
Yeah.
was 20 years. I thought, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's 20 years since we did it. We need to get together. And so we had a reunion. We've pretty much been having one ever since.
Yeah.
And it's, in 2025 it's 30 years. So
Yeah.
we've got to do something extra special.
And there's something about the bond of actually doing, a major challenge there that does forge some pretty good friendships, doesn't it?
Yeah,
in
Well,
this-
you see people they're tiredest and most irritable, or so it's raw.
Yeah.
And
and knowing you can count on people.
yeah,
like
they've
you
got
trust
your
them
back.
with your life.
Yeah.
It's a
your
dangerous
marsman
sport.
and your pitman.
Yeah.
And you had a lovely quote about Hobart's and
Yeah.
friendship. What was
Yeah, it was. I figured one Hobart's worth 5 years of friendship at least, probably. So.
that? That's a really lovely number.
So apart from sailing, let's talk about a bit about what else you do. I mean, Rachel, I've just learned that you actually run a martial arts school. So do you want to tell us a little bit about
no,
that
so
and how you got into
I
that?
guess you could say I changed tax.
You were a rigger as well.
Yeah, I love rigging and I still do it, but it's I needed to pay my mortgage a bit. So, but yeah, no, I got beaten up in a very unfortunate road rage incident, and it was very frightening. And basically, I studied martial arts. Never interested in martial arts in my life. So yeah, I entered very deeply because it was a very frightening experience, and you learned a lot, even though it wasn't a pleasant experience, obviously. So I really investigated very deeply and ended up with my own school. I mean, I never thought I was going to be a teacher. I was like a worst nightmare as a kid at school. So God knows how that happened, but here we are.
And you're talking about doing Twilights, Rich. We might get you back on the
I
water.
know. It's coming down here. It will infect me with my sailing fever again.
And then Simone,
Oh yeah,
You've
so
got
I've had a bit of
into-
a life change
Yeah,
too. So I have
yeah.
2 words: flexibility and opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was running my own business from 2018, where I look after the logistics for race yachts, predominantly internationally.
Yeah,
and
wow.
then the lovely gift that was COVID came, and there were no more international regattas. So then I stepped across and started doing yacht deliveries, which I've been doing full time for 2.5 years.
And you're doing a couple of
And
deliveries from here. aren't
2
you?
home from here, yeah. We're taking home the Highly Sprung, which is one of the TP52s, and then a yacht from America. Has to go back on a ship called Lenny. It's a Beneteau. So, I've really been very fortunate to learn so much on so many different boats. I've chosen to study commercially at the same time, so I'm nearly a Master 5. And learning about diesel engines and
wow,
navigation and
All
all
that
my
stuff.
skills. So a lot of nautical miles in the last 2.5 years. And
Yeah.
From both of you, I think the other piece about that is that when you get an opportunity, take an interest in somebody else's job and learn it as well. You're going to be so
check it
much
out.
more in demand if you can do a lot of things on the boat, and you have to do that in short deliveries, don't
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. And there's always been someone else to do something on the boat in a crew
Yeah.
of 8. And
Yeah.
when it's just you on watch,
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
often only 2-handed,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you. It's all on you. Yeah.
So there
Wow,
you go.
what a great way to
The younger
finish.
ones, men and women, these two are completely inspirational. It's lovely to do that. It's pouring with rain.
Yeah, I
there.
think it's time to wrap up before we get drenched. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our update today. Of course, keep an eye on our socials for more live content coming to you. And of course, our live update tomorrow, which we'll do in the morning. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to Simone and
Farewell.
Rachel
Thanks,
too.
guys.
Thanks, Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you.